Listen.
Welcome to another episode of the Beyond Sundays podcast with Jonathan Howes. On this podcast, we're talking about God, family, sports, and really whatever I want to talk about, which is kind of fun for me. I hope it's entertaining for you. You're obviously going to get more out of entertainment of watching it than listening to it. But the main purpose of the podcast is for me to add value to your life. And so I hope this podcast is encouraging, challenging, and inspiring to you. I've had several words of encouragement over the last few weeks. People are telling me that they're loving the podcast. I have friends across the country who have been watching and listening. Several Graystone members told me they love it. I even had an 82-year-old woman in church this past Sunday said that she loves watching the podcast on YouTube, which is amazing to me. She even knows how to go to YouTube and watch the podcast. I've had friends who haven't been able to find the podcast. And so if you're looking for it, which you shouldn't be because you're watching it now or you're listening to it, but just to remind people, you can watch it on YouTube, which is Graystone Church YouTube channel, or you can listen to it on your podcast app or iTunes. It's under the umbrella of Graystone Church. So search Graystone Church and you'll find it. Right now, the Beyond Sundays, we're experimenting. We're looking to see is this going to work? Is it something we want to keep doing? Are people listening? Are people watching? And if it becomes big enough and it really takes off, then we'll create our own, Beyond Sundays YouTube channel and Beyond Sundays podcast. But right now, it's under the Graystone umbrella. And so I want to encourage you to like it, write a comment, try to help us get the word out. So we want as many people as possible to get something from the podcast. So today we're talking about never stop growing. We should all strive to be lifetime learners. I love what the Apostle Paul says in the book of Philippians. He says that he hasn't arrived, that he's not perfect, that God's still at work in his life, and he's striving to become the person that God has created him to be. None of us have arrived. None of us is perfect. We should all be striving to be the best person of ourselves, the best person that God has created and called us to be. I want to encourage you to grow in every area of your life, physically, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, intellectually. I have some goals this year. I'm turning 50 this summer, so I have some weight goals. I'm trying to lose some weight and eat right and exercise and things of that nature. But I think beyond all that, we want to all be the best at our craft. Like whatever God has called you to do and gifted you to do, we constantly want to be getting better at our craft. I know a lot of our professional friends who have licenses and certificates, they have to take continuing education classes every year to keep those up. And so hopefully you have a personal development plan and something that you're doing to keep growing and keep learning. I heard this on my friend Ashley Hodge's podcast, Stewardship Mandate. He said that 1 year to the next, the only thing that's different from 1 year to the next are the books we read, the people we meet, and the places we go. And I love that. Now, I want to share with you something that I've been through, actually still going through right now, and it's a 360 leadership review. And the purpose of this exercise is to help me grow and develop as a person and as a leader. And honestly, this is the gift of a lifetime. To have this 360 leadership review done by people who love me and care for me, it truly is the gift of a lifetime. And it's an incredible personal growth opportunity. And so I asked 25 people who know me well, to critique my leadership. And it was anonymous. I don't know who said what, but they critiqued my leadership. And the reason it's a 360-degree review is because there's people above me, people below me, and people on either side of me from all around me who took the survey. It's an online survey. And so people above me took it, which is the executive board of Graystone Church. That's who I report to. That's who holds me accountable. They're my authority. The people under me, the leadership team of Graystone, that my direct reports, that are people who directly report to me. I also had friends and contemporaries and peers who were to the side of me evaluate my leadership. And then I just had a category of others. People who know me well, people like my wife, Jennifer, elders of the church, people who've known me for years. And so you're getting this perspective, this critique of your leadership from different perspectives and different people. And so this survey, this online survey, consisted of 75 leadership attributes. And the 75 attributes were divided up into 7 different categories. And the categories were values, results or drive, relationship building, trust, leadership EQ, which is emotional intelligence, leadership proficiency, and then effective communication. And so all 25 people went and rated my leadership, critiqued my leadership for all 75 questions on a scale of 1 to 7. And then and then it averaged out for how strong I was in that particular attribute. And then I received a summaries page. Okay, here are my top 10 attributes based upon what these 25 people scored me. And here are my bottom 10 leadership attributes based upon the survey. I could also see how I rated myself, and I can compare to, what is my self-awareness? How do I see myself compared to how other people see me? Do I have a good handle on my strengths and weaknesses and things of this nature? And I actually rated myself lower than the 25 people rated me. They all rated me higher on just about every category than I rated myself. The other thing was, with each category of the 7 categories, the person who took the survey, it was open comments to where they could share, okay, here's something Jonathan does good in this area, and here's something Jonathan could grow in this area. And so I had all of these comments on all the different leadership categories. And I probably got more out of the comments than anything else because people could just shoot me straight. It was anonymous. I didn't know who was writing what. And some of the comments, quite honestly, were difficult to read. It's hard to get that critique on yourself. But I received it well because I knew that every single person who was filling out the survey, they had my best interests at heart. They're sharing these things with me because they love me. They want what's best for me. They want what's best for Graystone Church. So really this whole process has been an invaluable resource for me. And so we got all the results back. And then I sat down with the consultant who's acting as my coach. And we initially just read through the survey. Here's how to read the survey. Here's how to look at it. What are your initial thoughts? Here are the results. And then he gave me some homework. He said, I want you to go through the survey, work through all the comments, and ask yourself these questions. Where do you agree with what the 360 is saying? Where do you disagree? What surprises you? What is confusing to you? What are some common things? What are some things that the people said over and over again? And then what areas do you want to grow in? What areas do you want to develop in? And so he and I sat back down for a second time, and I just shared with him all of these things. And we talked through the different issues. And then we came up with, okay, let's pick 3 things to focus on. What 3 things do you want to grow in? And then from there, we picked those 3. Then I set SMART goals for each of those 3, and then action steps to grow and develop in those categories. And then my next step is to sit down with the executive board to go over all of these things and what I'm working on, get their opinion, get their feedback. Maybe I disagree with something, but they can shoot me straight and say, no, that's a blind spot for you. You need to grow in that. I want to sit down with the leadership team of Graystone, the people who directly report to me, and share the same stuff with them and get their feedback. What do you think? And go from there. And so the leadership, I would encourage you, if you've never done a 360, I would encourage you to do it. It's an invaluable resource. It's been quite the process for me going through all of this. But what an incredible growth opportunity. I know that God is not finished with me yet. I'm kind of at the halftime of my life, or maybe a little bit past halftime, and I truly believe the best years are ahead for me. And I want God to mold me and shape me and make me into the man of God that He wants me to be, that He's developing my character, He's developing my leadership, and He's preparing me for this next great assignment that He has for me, whatever that might be. And so I just want to encourage you to never stop growing, never stop learning, never stop developing. None of us have arrived. It's going to take a lot of intention. It's going to take a lot of hard work to keep growing, keep developing, and not just repeating the same year over and over again. Let's not settle for mediocrity. Let's not settle for good enough. Let's strive to be the best person of ourselves that we can possibly be. Let's strive to be the leader that God has called us to be. I want to close this episode with a few personal application questions. Are you still growing? What steps are you taking to grow in your character and leadership? Are you reading books, listening to podcasts, visiting new places, meeting new people? What are you doing to improve your craft? What are you doing to get better at what God has called you to do? Do you have a personal development plan? And are you following that plan? And do you have a coach? Do you have someone who's speaking into your life, someone who can hold you accountable, someone who can help you grow? Just want to encourage you, never stop growing. You're never too old to keep growing, even if you're 82 years old or you're 92 years old or you're 102 years old. Let's wake up each day and strive to be the best we can possibly be for God. Let's give Him our best. Well, thank you for joining me on another episode of the Beyond Sundays podcast with Jonathan House. I hope it challenges you. I hope it encourages you. And I want to leave you with the words of the late, great Casey Kasem. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. We'll catch you next time.